Good morning. We're off to a slow start today. It's foggy. It's like 10. It's after 10 o'clock, 10:30 almost, and we still got a heavy fog layer. The boys actually had school canceled today because it's so foggy, so they're around. I'm trying to work on software updates on this grain cart tractor in the 8RX. It's going extremely slowly. I'm coming out to check on it. It wouldn't load the software update because it said the display was out of room. So I thought, all right, I guess I better delete some data off of here. So I'm trying to do so, but it said it's been deleting data for almost an hour now. I'm not sure if I should let it keep going or just shut the tractor off and try again. I don't know. Shut the key off. I don't have the tractor running for an hour just sitting there trying to delete data. That would be dumb. But yeah, it's taking a while. So we're going to let her sit for a while more. We were thinking about trying to plant some wheat this afternoon, but we kind of need it to at least the fog to go away and dry up the stubble a little bit. Oh, I came out here to the spreader tractor to see if there was any thing that we could spread. There's a couple of fields that we could do some, so I was going through and looking at my plans and adding up the totals and stuff. We got a full spreader load of potash that could be spread. There's 25,000 pounds worth. So could do that. I could use another almost 7,000 pounds of potash, but I don't know if it's worth having to bring that small amount out to try and do it or not. Yeah, so if it would just clear up a little bit, I guess we could spread the potash regardless. It doesn't matter. So we might do that here in a little bit. Still working on software updates on other stuff. It's boring. All right, boys. We've been working on our software updates. We might spread some fertilizer this afternoon, but I think we gotta have to get the combine out. We got some stuff to put on the combine. A few things. Let me show you. All right. So first up, my Syngenta chemical salesman rep reached out to me a week ago asking me if I ever flew any flags on my equipment. I said, no, I've never done that, but I've seen the stuff. And he says, well, would you? And I said, what do you want? And he said, they're doing a promotion or kind of a little contest here. Not really a contest. It's a promotional thing. And if we would be willing to fly this Miravis Neo flag, which is bigger than I expected. I was expecting sort of a small flag. This is a whole 3x5 Miravis Neo flag. He said if we were willing to fly that on the combine, that we would get some stuff for that, as you know, for the farm. Like, oh yeah. Anyway, so he brought that this morning along with the kit to put it on the auger and the pole, whatever. So we're gonna figure out how to mount that. I'm not quite sure yet how putting this flag on the end of our auger isn't going to rip down every electric line that we have to drive under. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Now, the other thing that we got, and probably more important and interesting, is this Bushel Plus kit. Let me just talk a little bit about this. So last week when we were running some beans, we were doing some yield loss checks and stuff. And one of you guys saw me doing that and sent an email or something to the guy who I'm assuming started and owns this Bushels Plus company. Basically, they make these pans that help you check grain loss coming out of your combine. Cool. You can find their information here. So they reached out to me and we talked for a little bit and he wanted to send me this stuff to try. Essentially, this is a pan that mounts up under the rear axle of our combine and has a magnetic release mechanism, I guess. And you can drop it while you're harvesting and then the combine goes over it. Anything that comes out the back gets caught in the pan. You separate out the grain, you weigh it, and you can kind of get a per acre loss thing, calculation or whatever. I don't know. We're going to try it and we'll see how this works. This is going to be really interesting to see how this works. So we have a lot of stuff going on here. This is the main system, I believe. And essentially what we have here is a remote controlled magnetic pan. These magnets, I believe, will like attach to the bottom of the axle, rear axle of the combine. We've got a remote here with a button that will automatically from the cab drop that red pan that is up underneath there that's held in with a magnet. And yeah, then we drive away from it or drive over it and we catch stuff. Now this pan here will work great in beans and probably in wheat. My first question to them was, does that pan sit on top of corn stalks? And they said, great question. We have a couple of options for that. They have this split pan that can basically fall between the corn stalks, and you get one in between here or something, so it should sit fine. I'm not sure how this is designed to work. If it's just a single instead of a double and then it still falls down in between them. I don't know how that would fall without tipping over kind of thing, so I'm not sure. Or maybe, oh, maybe that's it. So I got, where did those go? Right here. I got these magnets here. I wonder if that pan is supposed to attach something like that, maybe it sits above them. I'm not sure. I gotta figure that one out. But we also over here have this narrow one, this little 20-inch wide one that will fall between the cornstalk rows. So we can position that underneath the rear axle so that when this pan drops underneath there, it falls, you know, there's cornstalk row here and cornstalk row here, and it's between them, and it should work just fine. So all of these say to charge before using. Comes with this little charger thing here. So we're gonna let those charge and we'll test some stuff later. Come back this afternoon, try and maybe see how that installs. Temporary use, they go up super easy. You don't just leave them mounted all the time, I guess. So yeah, and then, so you're gonna get, you know, some, whatever comes out of the back of the combine is gonna fall in these pans, and you wanna separate out just the grain. Well, they sent me this little thing. Isn't this cool? Same thing, you gotta charge it, but basically it's just a screen with a fan underneath it to blow the chaff and stuff out and then capture any kernels that'll stay in there. So we've got all that stuff. We're gonna figure out how to use it. So thank you to those guys for sending this to me. I'm kind of excited for this. Okay, I've got a few errands I'm gonna go and run here this morning, early afternoon. I'm gonna stop at the John Deere dealer. I think I'm gonna go buy some new work boots because this one's got a hole in the bottom. And then we're gonna swing by our tiled fields on the way home. I'm taking the picture drone, and we'll grab some pictures of the tile lines while we're down there. So this is probably a 3 or 3.5 hour trip. When I get back this afternoon, we'll see where our stuff is at for the combine there. We'll see if Phil wants to go try and plant some wheat. And then the boys got football practice this afternoon that I might try and go to if we're not too busy, so we'll see. All right, well, we drove up to the John Deere dealer, and I'm leaving with nothing, no parts, which I didn't think they would have any of this stuff, but I've got a couple of things I want to do, some upgrades to the combine while we're working on combine stuff here, and needed to get some parts ordered. One of them is our machine communication radios for the machine sync when the combine and the grain cart are synced together and talking to each other. We have just the original style antennas that work, kind of. They do work, they work fine, but there's a lot of times when they fail to connect, and it doesn't bother me in the combine at all, but my grain cart driver pushes the button thinking that it's going to connect and take over, and then they let go of the reel, and all of a sudden, ooh, look at that. There's a combine with a draper with an air bar. I think they'd let me demo that air bar head. It's a 740 FD, so it's not a little bit older head, but still nice. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. Anyway, so they have an upgraded antenna that is supposed to allow those two things to connect and communicate better and maintain their connection so we don't lose it. So I am trying to get that. Also, John Deere released a thing called harvest grain weight sharing, something along those lines. I don't remember what it's called exactly, but basically where I can hook my Agromatics Libra scale that we love on our grain cart to the ISO system on the tractor so that we can get grain weights from the grain cart into the displays and then be able to see them on Op Center and be able to see the weights in the combine from the grain cart, and some stuff that would be really nice to be able to do. Not super necessary, but one of those, like, once you have it, you're going to be like, yeah, this is really awesome to have kind of things. And we already have all the activations and everything in place. It's just some cabling and harnesses to make that happen, and it's reasonably inexpensive. So I'm trying to get those parts ordered. The problem is one of the cables has to come from John Deere. 3 of the part numbers have to come from Agromatics, but Agromatics, you have to go through their dealer network. Well, my John Deere dealer is listed as a dealer, but not this location, a different location, and they've never ordered stuff, and so trying to figure out whether or not they can actually get this stuff has been a little bit of a challenge, but they'll figure it out for me. So I gave them all the numbers and everything that I needed, and they said they would take care of it. So, all right, on to Rural King, boot shopping. Probably lunch, then boot shopping. I didn't make it to Game Boots. I didn't make it. That trip was taking too long. I did stop at the store and get myself some combine snacks. But then we came home. Sun's actually out a little bit, and the air seeder's gone here. So we're going to go see if Phil is trying to plant wheat and see if he needs any help getting started. I wanted to do some measuring. Some of our GPS offsets were off a little bit. We had some rabbit trails, or some white row spacings and some other stuff from last year. I wanted to double check and measure before he gets too far. There he is. So what our problem has been here is, all these rows are 10-inch spacing, but then when we turn around and come back, it'd be like we'd have a 15-inch row or something. It was too wide. So he's going to plant a little bit on our line, turn around, and we're going to start measuring a little bit. So you can see if I put that in the center of that row, then we're at 10, then we're at 20, then we're at 30. That's what it should be. There's not actually any seed going in the ground right now, but see, this one looks wide. Maybe not terrible. A little bit. It's like 11 and a half. And this one looks narrow. Like 8 and a half. So we're off by about 1.5 inches, which isn't horrible, but it is noticeable. Yeah, gotta be going straight, so we gotta look where everything, see it kind of curves in, so yeah, it's about 8 and a half. All right, so we put in the display 1.5 inches right offset on our implement, telling it that the implement is 1.5 inches to the right of center line of the tractor, which is kind of how it's behaving. He is going to go up here farther and stay on our auto steer lines. We're going to try this again and see if it made it any better. Now this should be the same narrow gap as what we had before, but it should be right on 10 instead of 8.5 this time. It's definitely not narrow. Wonder if we overcorrected. We'll see what the other side does. Yeah, it looks wide now, doesn't it? All right, well, now I don't know what to think, because now we're at a 13-inch. We went 1.5 inches. Do we go the wrong way, maybe? We'll see if we overlap on this side or get a lot closer. If that's the case, then we just went the wrong way. That's an easy thing to adjust. Well, it's not overlap, and now we're wide on both sides. What in the heck? Well, we're going to throw a little weed in it. There's one more test to do, but we need seed. I think we got our guest rows figured out. We were off a little bit. I had tried to switch the offset from one side to the other. That made it way worse. So then we put the offset in on the tractor instead of the implement, the GPS receiver. And that seems to be better, but we're like 12 inches on both sides with a 30-foot spacing. So it's like we're 4 inches or 2 inches too wide. We need to set it at 29.2 or something, 29.10. It's close enough. It's better than it was. All right, so now we got a little weed in there, so we're spinning the wheel, turning the fan on. We're making sure that every row has wheat coming out of it. All of them over here do. Can't see. All right, well, he's got that full. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit, but the heavy rain is that way and going that way, so not gonna hit here. I don't know if he'll get enough to have to not plant or not, so he's gonna get started. Well, we got a few raindrops. He's off. I'm gonna check some depth, and then he should be good to go. Right there. I think we're plenty deep. There's better moisture out here than I would have thought for as dry as we were before we got, 3/10 of an inch of rain. We haven't even had that much. But it's forming a nice seed trench. There they are, in good moisture, plenty deep. I'm good with it. Keep planting. All right, I am fairly confident we can get to this tomorrow. There's really not a ton that we need to do. It just kind of magnets up to there, and we'll just try it out a little bit. I don't know about this other pan. We have to figure that out and what these are for. Holy cow, who put that on there? That was a bad idea. Did I do that? Those magnets are strong. Anyway, and we'll try and get our flag mounted. And yeah, we'll see what else we can figure out to do with the combine and getting stuff ready. Or maybe we can spread some fertilizer tomorrow. It doesn't look like the rain's going to amount to anything here tonight.